questions. Let me start a little bit at the high level. First of all, artificial intelligence as an idea in computer science, as a lot of people there know, is not new. From the 60s and even earlier, the idea that if you have computing machines, we should try to do something that, let's say, simulates the work of a human brain has been an idea that's been around forever. So what has changed now? Why do we have this renaissance of AI and a sudden, let's call it, interest across the board for how AI can present both opportunities, but also challenges for the human race? And what I would say is what's changed is two things. A set of algorithms that, as people have been doing research in academia, but also frankly in private companies, the likes of the US giant companies, but also Europeans and the rest of the world, Chinese, what have you, a lot of Greek academics and practitioners in the space. So what has changed is a set of algorithms and, most importantly, computing capabilities. Our abilities to deal with massive data and massive parallelization in computing, which has taken some algorithms that would have been impossible to run even 5 or 10 years ago and make them a possibility today. So the idea is not new, but what has changed is the capabilities. So what I will say with that is, when we think about practical applications of AI, anything that involves the ability to discern patterns from large data, if you think about it, it should be something that the machine should be able to do just as well as the human brain does. So anything where you have statistical correlations between various data points, coupled with access to large, relatively clean sets of data, creates these opportunities for the machines to, let's say, take over, whatever that means, in terms of doing a job just as well, if not better, as humans could do. The audience may not know that we've just published a report last week that we had been working on for the past year. This is a report that involves advice to the Prime Minister about how Greece could take advantage of artificial intelligence in a variety of areas within the public sector, how to think about regulation, but also, as far as I'm concerned, the area I worked on the most, how to use AI as a way to attract companies for entrepreneurial and innovation activities in Greece. Greece has always been a fantastic place to generate talent, human talent, great universities, fantastic technologists. We have a very active diaspora. We are very overrepresented as an ethnicity in the academic circles. You have some in your panel today. No need for me to say that. So how to leverage some of that activity that already exists around the world as a way of getting more economic, entrepreneurial innovation activity in Greece has been something that for the past couple of years I've been very interested in. And so the Prime Minister, when he asked us to put together this report, one of the sections is very much focused on entrepreneurship and innovation around AI in Greece. And
the construction sector, as many of you may know from maybe personal experience of having interacted with construction, it is a very wasteful domain and sector. For example, if I give you some statistics, 90% of projects, construction projects, mainly infrastructure projects, are delayed or over budget. About 50% of the rework that is happening on construction sites is due to poor quality control. So essentially, we do not know exactly how well we are building, and we have to redo it. About 95% of recyclable materials in construction is actually going to landfill, and we're not reusing them or recycling them. So these are just a few statistics showing how wasteful this industry is. At Stanford, I lead the lab, the research group of gradient spaces, where we're actually researching how we can increase digitization and the use of artificial intelligence in construction. And particularly, we're looking at it from the use of visual data, such as images or 3D data, like 3D point clouds, or computer-aided design data, and how we can use these algorithms to automate fully or partially many of these aspects of construction, from understanding mainly what you have in your buildings, what exists right now, what has been built, what has changed, what is that, where is it located, how does it connect with other elements. Information that is crucial both during construction but also affecting the next life cycle stages of the buildings.
Right. Now, the European Union has done a lot of work in this space. In 2021, we became the world's first jurisdiction to propose a law that regulates the risks of AI Act, also known as the AI Act. This law was adopted this year in 2024 and will become enforceable within the next years by 2026. Now, what this does concretely, and without getting into too much the legal details, is it ensures that risky applications of AI go through a very strict legal process of ensuring their quality before they enter the market, before they reach the consumers.
Και μια τελευταία σκέψη, ένα πράγμα το οποίο αναφέρει και το report της Επιτροπής, το οποίο νομίζω είναι ενδιαφέρον, είναι ότι πρέπει να σταθμίζουμε από τη μία πλευρά την προστασία για πράγματα όπως λέγαμε πριν, προσωπικά δεδομένα, με το, ας το πούμε, δικαίωμα το οποίο έχουμε στο access, στην πρόσβαση στην πληροφορία, η οποία αυτή η πληροφορία τελικά συλλέγεται είτε από το κράτος είτε από τον οποιονδήποτε, με έναν τρόπο που θα μπορούσε να κάνει τη ζωή μας καλύτερη. Δηλαδή, από τη μία ναι με προστασία, αλλά από την άλλη πρόσβαση σε πληροφορία η οποία μπορεί να κάνει τη ζωή μας καλύτερη. Και αυτό είναι κάτι το οποίο, επειδή πάντα όταν σκεφτόμαστε και στην Ελλάδα και στην Ευρώπη ρυθμιστικό πλαίσιο, πάντα αμέσως σκεφτόμαστε προστασία, δηλαδή που σημαίνει όχι, λέγε όχι, πήγαινε πιο αργά. Αυτό είναι κάτι το οποίο θα πρέπει να αρχίσουμε να σταθμίζουμε με το δικαίωμα στην πρόσβαση στην πληροφορία και πώς αυτό θα μπορούσε να μας έχει, να μας φέρει πάρα πολλά πλεονεκτήματα στο μέλλον.
Right now it gives us nightmares, not because it helps the attackers penetrate systems as much. It does, but those are very few corner cases. What it mostly does, it generates fake content that makes scams look more real. So it hacks humans right now. AI, generative AI, is used to hack humans, not systems, not computers. And this is a much bigger issue.
Is that applications of artificial intelligence in defense and security purposes are not at all new. They have been around for decades already. But certain technical and geopolitical trends have been putting artificial intelligence back into the spotlight. And so in the remaining time that I have for today, I want to try to explain why artificial intelligence is a geopolitical issue, but also what kind of practical dilemmas are we facing in the military domain when we are thinking about integrating artificial intelligence. In the future, it is important to realize that artificial intelligence uses in the military domain are already part of our reality. They are not science fiction anymore. If you look at conflicts like Russia's invasion of Ukraine or Israel and Gaza, you're seeing that AI algorithms are already being used and making differences on the battlefield. And with this context, we see that AI is not only the subject of geopolitical competition, but it is also the means for which geopolitical competition is exercised. It is the means for which we are competing with each other. And that makes it very difficult to govern, to create rules and regulations about it, because no actor wants to limit themselves in the potential capacities that they could use artificial intelligence for.
Ένα από τα βασικά προβλήματα τα οποία σίγουρα και την Επιτροπή προβλημάτισε είναι το κομμάτι της αγοράς εργασίας. Αναφέρθηκε και είναι η κλασική ερώτηση που γίνεται. Πώς δεν θα χαθούν θέσεις εργασίας από την τεχνητή νοημοσύνη. Η αλήθεια είναι ότι δεν θα χαθούν θέσεις εργασίας. Θα δώσω το παράδειγμα του Γουτεμβέργιου. Ένα βήμα πίσω όμως, η τεχνολογία που μέσα από την τεχνολογία ένα εργαλείο της είναι η τεχνητή νοημοσύνη, εντάσσεται στις 24 πλατφόρμες τεχνολογίας οι οποίες έχουν αλλάξει τον κόσμο. Όσο και αν φαίνεται υπερβολικό, ισχύει όμως, η φωτιά, ο ηλεκτρισμός και η τυπογραφία είναι μία από τις υπόλοιπες 24. Ας σκεφτούμε λοιπόν λίγο το Γουτεβέργιο την τότε εποχή. Ένας μεταλλάς, ο οποίος τι ήθελε να κάνει, ήθελε να φτιάξει μία επινόηση για την τυπογραφία. Δεν νομίζω να φαντάστηκε ποτέ ότι θα έχει τέτοιο αντίκτυπο στην κοινωνία, συνταράζοντας μέχρι και την θρησκεία ολόκληρη η επινόησή του. Άρα λοιπόν τι θέλω να πω με αυτό, ότι η άμεση αντίδραση «ναι, θα χαθούν δουλειές» δεν είναι επικρατούσα άποψη. Αν τυχόν μπορέσουμε και μιλήσουμε για το λεγόμενο upskilling και reskilling σε άπτεστα ελληνικά, το οποίο απαιτείται στην σημερινή εποχή ακριβώς για να προσαρμοστούμε στις νέες ανάγκες που θα χρειαστεί η χρήση της τεχνητής νοημοσύνης. Άρα λοιπόν δεν μιλάμε για απώλεια, μιλάμε για αντικατάσταση και για επανεκπαίδευση του δυναμικού πάνω στις νέες μας ανάγκες.
So on one hand you have China, where the Chinese leader Xi Jinping stated that innovation is the main battleground of today, and China put a plan out in 2017 called the AI Generation New Development Plan, which aims to make China a global leader in AI by 2030. Now, the US is also simulating China's approach in some regards, trying to stay as far ahead its competitor as possible. This already started with the Biden administration. President Biden put forward the Chips and Science Act, which commits about $250 billion to AI and semiconductor research. And what is more, President Biden tried to impose export controls on AI chips so that the Chinese couldn't obtain these advanced AI chips and couldn't make cutting-edge AI models based on them. Now, with the Trump administration, we expect this to actually continue. President Trump has described the US-China AI arms race as a world-changing one, and he has promised to adopt policies that will help American companies win this race. For example, providing them with more electricity in order to develop their AI models, and also helping them cut down regulations so they can work more fast. So the question then becomes, within this context, what is Europe's place? And as we hinted in the previous panel, Europe is unfortunately behind, and we see that through many metrics. First metric that I think is very important is the lack of AI champions. We're missing these big, flashy AI companies coming from Europe. I mean, if I can do a very quick show of hands, how many of you know about OpenAI and ChatGPT? Now, if you do a show of hands, how many of you know a European AI company? 3 hands around the crowd. So we already see, and that is actually depicted in the data, only about 3% of the world's AI unicorn startups come from Europe. Unicorn startups being the companies that have surpassed the 1 billion mark evaluation. I think that is very indicative. We also talked about this big investments gap. US companies last year receiving about $67 billion of investment to develop AI. European companies receiving only $7 billion of investment. And finally, there is a big gap in entrepreneurship as well. Last year, again in 2023, for comparison, there were about 900 new AI companies in the United States receiving funding. In Europe, there were about 250. So again, we see this big gap growing.
Ότι η μεγάλη επιτυχία θα είναι όταν αυτά τα ταλέντα αρχίζουν και γυρνάνε στην Ελλάδα. Η Ελλάδα, ξέρετε, έχει τη μεγαλύτερη ακαδημαϊκή διασπορά στην Αμερική. Έχουμε περισσότερους καθηγητές πανεπιστημίου στην Αμερική από ότι ολόκληρη η Λατινική Αμερική μαζί. Μια ήπειρος 700 εκατομμυρίων κατοίκων έχει λιγότερους καθηγητές, Μεξικό, Βραζιλία, Αργεντινή, όλες αυτές οι χώρες, από ότι οι Έλληνες στα αμερικανικά πανεπιστήμια. Ένας τεράστιος πλούτος και θα πρέπει κάποτε, πέρα από τα προϊόντα που εξάγουμε, τον πλούτο που έχει η χώρα μας, τα πορτοκάλια της, τα βιομηχανικά της προϊόντα της υπηρεσίας, να θυμόμαστε ότι ο μεγαλύτερος πλούτος δεν είναι ούτε τα ορυκτά της, ούτε οι φυσικές της ομορφιές, όσο μεγάλες και αν είναι, αλλά οι άνθρωποι της. Αυτό το τεράστιο ανθρώπινο δυναμικό, η Θεσσαλονίκη το ξέρει πάρα πολύ καλά, πολλές φορές το αφήνει αναξιοποιητό η πόλη μας. Είναι ο πλούτος τον οποίο πρέπει και εμείς οι πολιτικοί να ενσκύψουμε ακόμα περισσότερο για να τον φέρουμε κοντά μας. Χωρίς αυτόν τον πλούτο δεν μπορούμε να προχωρήσουμε. Οι άνθρωποι είναι που κάνουν την μεγάλη διαφορά. Και σήμερα έχουμε έτσι φοβερούς και τρομερούς. Ας πάμε...